In 1969, social psychologists Stanley Milgram and Leonard Bickman conducted a strange experiment on a busy street corner in New York City. They hired a single actor to stand on the sidewalk and simply look up at a sixth-floor window. There was nothing there. No fire, no celebrity, no danger. Just a window. For the first few minutes, most pedestrians walked right past him. They ignored the anomalies. But then the researchers added a second variable. They added more actors. When 5 people stood looking at the window, 20 of all passers-by stopped to look. When 15 people stood looking at the window, the result was chaos. Within minutes, 40 of the pedestrian traffic had come to a complete standstill. Hundreds of people were craning their necks, staring intensely at absolutely nothing, simply because other people were doing it. This is not just a quirk of human behavior. It is the single most powerful psychological lever in the history of commerce. It is the reason you will choose a crowded restaurant over an empty one, even if the service is slower. It is the reason sitcoms use that annoying canned laughter tracks, even though every survey says audiences hate them. And it is the reason that a 5-star rating from a stranger named Dog Lover 99 is worth more to a business than a $10 million Super Bowl commercial. We like to think we are independent thinkers, but the data proves otherwise. When the herd moves, we don't just follow. We run. Welcome back to Strategy Unlocked. Today, we are decoding the invisible currency that powers the modern internet. It isn't Bitcoin. It isn't the dollar. It is social proof. For most of marketing history, trust flowed vertically. It flowed from authorities down to consumers. If a doctor in a white coat told you to smoke camels, you smoked camels. If a celebrity told you to buy a Ford, you bought a Ford. But in the last 20 years, that structure has collapsed. Trust has gone horizontal. Today, 93% of customers say online reviews impact their purchasing decisions. A product with 5 reviews is 270 more likely to be purchased than a product with 0 reviews. This brings us to the core mystery we are answering today. Why do we trust the anonymous crowd more than the experts? Why does the human brain instinctively value the opinion of a stranger over the claims of the company that actually made the product? To answer this, we need to look at a towel experiment in a hotel bathroom. We need to examine a terrifying study on smoke-filled rooms. And we need to break down how companies like Amazon and TripAdvisor industrialized this psychological glitch to build empires. We are going to find out why bestseller badges work, why waitlists make you want a product more, and why your brain is biologically hardwired to outsource your decision-making to the herd. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why you read reviews. You'll understand how to weaponize them. To understand why you check Yelp before ordering a taco, we have to go back 50,000 years. In the ancestral environment, independence was often a death sentence. If you were a hunter-gatherer and you saw your entire tribe running screaming away from a bush, you didn't stop to ask, "I wonder what the evidence is for that reaction." You ran. If you paused to analyze the situation personally, you were eaten. The individuals who followed the herds survived. The skeptics died. We are the descendants of the followers. This survival mechanism is deeply encoded in our amygdala. It's called pluralistic ignorance. When we are in an ambiguous situation, we look to others to define reality for us. In 1968, psychologists Bibb Latané and John Darley demonstrated this in a terrifying way. They put a subject in a room to fill out a questionnaire. While the subject was working, smoke began to pour into the room from a vent. When the subject was alone, 75% of people reported the smoke immediately. They acted on their own survival instinct. But then the researchers ran the test again. This time, they put 2 actors in the room with the subject. The actors were told to ignore the smoke completely. The result: only 10 of subjects reported the smoke. 90 of people sat there, coughing, waving smoke out of their faces, and doing nothing. Simply because the social proof of the calm actors told them there was no danger. They risk their lives rather than break the social consensus. This is the foundation of the strategy. When we are uncertain, we assume the crowd knows something we don't. Now, let's see how this biological override is applied in business. The most famous case study in applied social proof comes from the godfather of influence himself, Dr. Robert Cialdini. You've seen those little signs in hotel bathrooms asking you to reuse your towels to save the environment. For years, hotels used that standard environmental appeal. It worked okay. About 35 of guests reused their towels. Cialdini wondered if he could boost that number just by changing the words to leverage social proof. He changed the sign to say, "Join your fellow guests. 75 of guests in this hotel reuse their towels." Reuse rates jumped by 26. But he didn't stop there. He dug deeper into a sub-principle of social proof called similarity. We don't just follow the herd. We follow the herd that looks like us. He changed the sign one more time to be hyper-specific. 75 of the guests who stayed in this room reused their towels. The reuse rate shot up to 49. Think about the logic of that. Why would you care what the previous occupant of room 302 did? You don't know them. They are irrelevant. But your brain craves a peer group. If the person who slept in this bed did it, it must be the correct behavior for this specific context. This is why Amazon reviews are so powerful. It's not just the star rating. It's the verified purchase badge. It's the photos of the product on a real person's kitchen table, not a studio set. We are looking for evidence that people like us found value here. We trust the imperfection of the peer more than the perfection of the brand. This brings us to the digital age, where social proof has been weaponized into a feedback loop that determines the fate of entire industries. Before the internet, social proof was local. You asked your neighbor what lawnmower to buy. Today, social proof is aggregated. Companies like Uber, Airbnb, and Yelp turned reputation into a data point. A Harvard Business School study found that a 1-star increase on Yelp leads to a 5.9 increase in revenue for independent restaurants. For a business doing $1 million a year, that 4th star is worth $90,000. This created a new economy. The trust economy, but this system has a flaw. The rich get richer effect. Because we rely so heavily on social proof, we rarely buy products with 0 reviews. This makes it impossible for new products to break in. This is why you see the cold start problem. To combat this, companies have to manufacture initial social proof. They give away products for free in exchange for reviews. They use influencer marketing, which is really just paid social proof. When you see a long line outside a nightclub, that is often manufactured. Club owners will deliberately keep the lines slow and the doors closed, even if the club is empty inside. They are hacking your visual cortex. They are creating the visual evidence of demand to generate real demand. They are building the crowd to attract the crowd. So what is the deep insight here? We know social proof works, but why do we really use it? It's not just about trust. It's about cognitive load. The aha moment is this. Social proof is a mechanism for outsourcing thinking. In the modern world, we are drowning in choices. To buy a simple tube of toothpaste, you have to choose between tartar control, whitening, enamel repair, charcoal, mint, and cinnamon. If you had to logically analyze the chemical composition and price-to-value ratio of every single purchase, your brain would fry. You would be paralyzed. So we use a heuristic, a mental shortcut. We look for the bestseller tag. That tag tells us millions of other people have already done the research. They have already done the thinking. I can just copy them. The 5-star rating isn't a measure of quality. It is a measure of safety. It allows us to make a decision without spending a single calorie of mental energy. We don't buy the best product. We buy the product that requires the least amount of thinking to justify. Before we wrap up, I want to use a little social proof of my own. Thousands of intellectually curious people, just like you, have already subscribed to this channel to upgrade their business IQ. If you want to join them and not miss the next breakdown, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. So, what are the implications of a world run by social proof? For businesses, the lesson is clear. You cannot just build a great product. You must build a visible consensus around that product. You need to encourage reviews, showcase user-generated content, and display your popularity. If you are selling something, silence is fatal. You need the noise of the crowd. But for us as consumers, the implication is a warning. Social proof is easily faked. We live in an era of bot farms, purchased likes, and astroturfing, where companies mask their own marketing as organic grassroots support. Just because everyone is looking at the window doesn't mean there is anything there. The next time you feel the pull of the herd, the next time you reach for the best seller without thinking, pause and ask yourself, am I buying this because it's good? Or am I buying it because I'm afraid to be the only one who didn't? We are insiders' knowledge, and this has been Strategy Unlocked. What is a product you bought purely because of the hype and immediately regretted? Let us know in the comments.